Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Ontario Libertarian Party's first ever leadership debate. I'm the moderator of this debate, Brad Greilich, and I'm here today with our two leadership hopefuls, Mark Snow, who was a former candidate in our 2018 provincial election, and Keith Kumar, who is our current treasurer and CFO of the party. So, our first question is going to go to Mark, and then Keith will have an opportunity to rebuttal or give his own answer. Oh, Mark. How would you, as leader, deal with those in society who are unemployable as a result of a serious mental illness? What do you propose we adopt as our party's mental health policy?
That's kind of a tough one because libertarians believe in voluntary systems, and we've come so far that the government has taken over all of our social care system. We don't have Sally Ann's. We don't have churches that get funding anymore. They've taken over corporate charity. So in the interim, we would have to continue funding this until we could get a libertarian society into view that we would start having people give more to charity and do more charitable acts. But we just can't shut it off. There's too many people that need help. And so, as part of our healthcare platform in 2018, that included the option of keeping OHIP and those coverages that are covered particularly under there, which there's very little. I couldn't shut it off. I couldn't with any heart shut it off or stop it. But we need to go to a society where we have more volunteer activities and more volunteerism and more private charity set up in that sense.
Terrific. Thank you very much. Keith?
It is a tough question for a libertarian. What do we do with the infirm? What do we do with the people who are disadvantaged? I've been pondering this a lot. And my thought on this is we could set up something in this province as opposed to what we have. We have a million different bureaucracies looking after this. And they overlap each other and they create such an enormous waste in our system. So if we were to revamp that in a way where we had something what I would call like the Department of Disability Empowerment, something along those lines, where you look at economic, physical, and mental disability in people, and you put them into this program where we like a 3-4 year get in, get out type of deal, empowering people as opposed to systemizing them and making them someone who's dependent on the government forever. You could do that right away without hurting anybody, and as an interim until we could find something more of a private system. But what that would do is it would eliminate all of these other bureaucracies that we have at the same time. We could eliminate the whole pile of them and just put it all under one umbrella and really start to look after these people and empower them also, get them back working, get them into things that they possibly can do. Because I hear a lot of disabled people say that they would love to participate in society, but they just don't feel the ability to do that. So it's not as libertarian as we'd like to do, but it's kind of something in the middle that would take us back from where we are with this big government and shrink it in a huge way and still enable people to be looked after in the interim.
All right. Thank you very much. Any response to that, Mark?
Yeah, we have a lot of programs currently right now in the Ontario healthcare system and across the several different lines. The Trillium program, the Ontario Works program, welfare, social assistance. These are all programs that are heavily on management and light on delivery. And if we are going to do something like that, I would sooner see that the government became an NGO a government worked with NGOs, non-governmental organizations, where we can classify that, get rid of the bureaucracy as Keith was talking about, and make sure that we're getting full service delivery down at the NGO level so that we can get the maximum amount of the money that we're going to fund for that until we can have a system in place that can work with the people, work with the different charitable organizations and care organizations that are out there that really just want to provide. So let's support those organizations if we have to spend any taxpayers' dollars on it.
Terrific. Thank you very much. So, next question. Keith.
I'd like to come back on that one just quickly.
Yep.
To touch base on that. And I agree. NGOs are a great system. What's going to happen is if we don't have something in place for the people of this province, they're never going to elect us. They want to see that they're taken care of. And having one bureaucracy instead of having 50 bureaucracies is definitely an easier touch. So I would be eliminating welfare and ODSP and all of these other programs and putting them all under this one department and streamlining it. So I understand what you're saying, and I do agree. How about the NGOs and do that? But in the interim, let's eliminate the huge bloated bureaucracy that we have that overlap and just make it one department.
Okay, thank you. So moving on then. Keith, what would you do as leader to attract more moderate voters to what is considered to a lot of people to be a more extreme political movement?
We just, we need to get our voice out. We need to be out on the street. People already believe our message. When I stand on the street corner and I'm getting signatures or I'm talking to people, we're all saying the same thing. Government is too big. It's wasting our money. We need to stop spending our money in other places. We need to keep it local. They all feel the same way. So it's not our message. It's our messengers. We need to be better at providing this message. We're really not an extreme party. We're very much in the wheelhouse of what people believe. They don't see us out there, and they don't see us as viable because we're not putting our boots on the ground. So we need to get out in every riding and get our name out and talk to people. That's how we're gonna grow this movement, and that's how we're gonna bring all the moderates in to our party.
All right, thank you.
Message again, Brad.
Okay, the question was what would you do as the leader to attract more moderate voters to what's often seen as a more extreme political movement?
One of the greatest things that brought me into this party was the 2018 platform. It talked about people having power and control. And everywhere I went, I debated here in Ottawa, I debated all across the National Capital Region and all the way down to Kingston, is people understand that we have a message, but we had a lot of fear about the Wynne and the Ford government getting back in. And in that messaging and in those speeches that I would give about power, choice, and control, what we would experience is that I would say that, listen, in 4 years' time, nothing's going to change. The deficit's not going to change. And we need to push that message of people having the power. That's what the Ontario Libertarian Party represents, is people having power, choice, and control over their taxpayer-funded services or taking their taxpayers' dollars and going out and procuring those services. So that's the message that we have to get across, is that, like he said, the message is to grow the party, and to make that sellable, we need to be able to not have people fearmonger about us closing and cutting and shutting everything off. That would be ultimately a reasonable goal for myself, but that's not something that we can do right away. So I think that we should grow the message, yes, but we should also push whatever the platform comes out from the caucus after the leadership convention to start really, really explaining what that means and really, really pushing that message on social media, the website, Twitter, Snapchat, Instagram, whatever it is that we have to do to push that message, to give people 3 years to get used to us and really hear our message.
Okay, thank you. You have a response to that, Keith?
Yeah, I do, and I agree with most of that. I think we can do better than the 2018 platform. I think there's room to grow and expand on that. And other than that, I think as the leader, we need to be active. Whoever wins this race needs to be out in every riding. We need to go around this province and we need to shake hands and we need to meet people. We need to show them that we're interested in them. Because I think that they don't see us as active or interested. And that's our big dilemma, is we need to be out there. And as the leader, whoever is the leader needs to put their boots on and get going and do that.
Okay, thank you. Summary, Mark?
No, again with Keith, yeah, if I'm elected as leader, I will be across this province. I will be going as far as and as often as I'm allowed to go, both with my family commitments. And I will push those messages, but that requires a lot of background work, like Keith and Matt have done. Start setting up EDAs. That means engaging with the people early. We can engage now, but we need to get that platform set. We need to get that new constitution and bylaws in place after the convention. And let's go after that. Let's go. I'm ready to go. I want to run this.
Okay, sounds good. So then the next question, we'll start with Mark. Some would say that part of the reason the party attracted so many candidates in 2018 was the more moderate approach to the platform. Do you think that it is important to build on that moderate approach, or do you think the party would benefit from going for a more radical approach in 2022?
I absolutely do not believe a radical approach is necessary nor wanted. It's not sellable, as he said. The 2018 platform, like I said, was about people having choice, was about people controlling their government services, was about turning those funds over in a lot of areas in healthcare and education. It was about property rights. It was about everything that was going to make people more powerful than government. And that's what really attracted me, because I'm tired of government ruling my life. I'm tired of it ruling my children's lives when they're going to school. I'm tired of it taking the healthcare system and turning it into wait times. I'm tired of the conservation authorities, which Ford is putting through right now, new regulations that's going to empower them to take more power away from property owners. So, no, I believe that we should be as moderate as 2018 with a more clearer explanation. I don't set, as the leader or Keith or nobody else sets, the caucus. The members that ran in the election and the executive set the next platform. Whoever is leader, Keith or myself, will take that platform and run with it. That's what we have to do. We have to really grow that platform, and we need to decide on it quickly so that we can get it out.
Okay, thank you very much. Keith, your thoughts?
We sure do need to set a platform, and we need to do it as fast as we can, because we need a message that's universal and that is accepted by everybody, and it's a one-page issue. Like, we are all talking the same thing. That being said, I think we have a chance to do something really extraordinary this election in 2022. I've been really pondering what we do as libertarians and how, as we put out a platform, it's still a one-size-fits-all platform. It's still trying to govern the whole province under one set of ideals. And I believe that if we were to set up EDAs in each riding, and we allowed the EDAs and the candidates, which it would be the caucus at that point, to set more of a local platform for their issues on a libertarian basis, and as the center of the party, have a few key things in there, like our education. We're all universal on the fact that we want charter schools. We understand that. And if we set that core platform, 2 or 3 really solid items that people want to see, and we left the rest of it up to the EDAs and to each riding to find local issues that are libertarian that they need to run on, as they set their own platform, I think that would be something, A, completely unique, B, it would be very appealing to the local people, and it would allow us to spread that message locally in a whole different way. And it would also show these people that we actually care about their ridings individually, as opposed to trying to pass one edict down. We all sound the same when we have one platform and we push it. This would be something completely new, and I think it's something that we could do as a party that would innovate what politics are today.
All right, thank you. Mark, any thoughts?
No, I actually really like what he said there about individual, but the only other aspect that I would say is that we need to have a full platform that explains all the different policies across the board. The idea of taking a libertarian government and decentralizing it and putting that back down onto the local municipalities and cities, that's what it's supposed to be about. Reducing the size and scope of government and putting more of that power in the hands of municipalities. That is the problem right now, is that everything is centrally controlled out of Toronto, from property rights to taxation to education rights. In your own ridings, in your own districts, those school zones are now paid to Toronto instead of just here in your local school zone. So yeah, it is a good idea to think along that ways, and that might be something really good to pursue. However, I do believe that we need a provincial platform that explains our 7 or 8 main policies, short little snappy stuff, and then go from there. EDAs can sell and talk about that afterwards, or local riding associations can do that as well.
Okay, Keith, any more thoughts?
No, that's good.
Okay, then moving on, our next question is for Keith. What is more important to you, increasing our number of registered EDAs or going for a full slate in 2022?
Increasing our EDAs, and I'll tell you why. From the EDAs, you have local growth. it is really hard to sit in Toronto or sit in Ottawa and run a province with 124 ridings. That's like a huge province, biggest province in Canada. So having EDAs locally and having them pick their local candidates and having them take care of their riding and just having us at the back guiding them and helping them is way more important to me than having 124 candidates. Although I think if you do EDAs, you'll have those candidates there. It'll happen. One begets the next.
Very good. Thank you. Mark.
This might sound surprising, but neither, and I'll qualify that. Having a good platform and getting that message out early will attract people. If we were to push that platform on social media, have the leaders out there across the province talking about it. I'm speaking at the University of Ottawa on free speech on October 10th, and that's what we need to do. We need to have that platform. We need to social media the hell out of it, get that out there. When we start seeing memberships grow, then we focus in the last year like we did on candidates. And then if candidates have the time, the resources, and the volunteers, then they can set up EDAs. So I think the focus is not necessarily, when I say no, neither, the focus is developing a good platform, pressing that platform for the next 2 years, spending money, raising money, getting out there, making noise, and then developing the candidates and then the EDAs. I understand the reasoning for an EDA, but as someone who ran in the election and was part of the team that built the Ottawa group, at the end of the day, having a full slate meant nothing because we didn't reach anybody because the media wouldn't pay attention to us, no newspapers would pick us up, and they only wanted to report on bad things. So if we can spread that message that people can hear the name Libertarian, they're already hearing it now on the Maxime Bernier campaign and the whole run-up to the Conservative leadership. Libertarian is on the lips of people's minds across the country. Every time Max says the word, we grow in popularity.
Okay, thank you. Summary to that, Keith.
Yes, so as if I'm elected leader of this party, I'm going to put my boots on the ground. I'm going to be in every riding. We're going to attract that local constituent, 1 or 2 or 3. We are going to set up those EDAs. I'm firm in the fact that EDAs are essential. They allow you to raise money locally. We need money. We can't just sit and send out emails to the same 150 to 200 people all the time and expect them to grow our party. We need brand new, fresh faces. We need the message to get out there. And I agree, we need a solid platform. But I think whoever the leader is needs to start marching those boots, and that's a promise I make. I will go to every riding. I will have an EDA set up in every riding within the next year, come hell or high water. I will shake hands with everybody I have to make that happen. And once we have that EDA set up and we have that local core of people who are libertarian and they're raising money and they're raising funds, that's what's going to attract your good candidates. That's what's going to attract those people to the parties. They're going to see you're organized. They look at us right now and we're just a joke. We're completely unorganized, and that has to end. And we have the ability to do this, and we have the ability to grow. If we can raise $500,000 through these EDAs in the next 3 years, we're going to get our 5%. We're going to be the next Green Party. We're going to be that party that breaks through in 2026 and has a seat. But it's all incremental, and it starts with the leader putting his boots on the ground and going riding to riding, and attracting those people himself. I really believe that.
Okay, thank you very much. Any last words on this, Mark?
Yeah, the problem with the whole EDA, and I don't disagree with you, Keith, but EDAs are not going to provide the party with money. EDAs raise money locally. The EDAs can upload that money, but why would they do it? Why would they send their membership money higher? So EDAs can't raise money for the party. They can raise the party profile as people on the ground. Social media will reach more people than that, is my opinion, to start off with. And exactly like I said, social media, the whole campaign on that side of the house, then the candidates, and then the EDAs. So yeah, EDAs cannot raise money for the party other than providing local representation.
I just want to go back on that, because those EDAs, they have their $50,000 for that campaign. We don't have to have the money in the party. The money's already there for those candidates. And that's really what we need. We need 124 ridings with $50,000 each so they can put up a fight. So the EDAs would solve that problem, and we wouldn't have to look at it centrally. And it would also free up a lot of money centrally for us that we were going to raise. We wouldn't have to put down to those candidates. They'd be self-sufficient.
Okay, thank you. So, moving on, we have next is for Mark. Would you be in favor or opposed to a sliding scale method of taxation where people can choose to opt in or out of services that and pay for them via taxation?
No, I would not be in favor of that. If you were to ask me what is my end goal, is no taxation. That's not doable. That's not achievable, at least for 20 years. However, what we can do is give people a voucher for their healthcare services, give people a voucher for their education services, and allow them to choose OHIP. I honestly believe, and I spoke at PSAC during the election, where I was speaking against Mariam Malsat, the Communist Party, the crazy guy, Joel Harden, from the NDP. And I had unionized heads looking in the room saying, yes, yes, yes. They were agreeing with me, but they were clapping for the other guys. The simple fact is that no sliding scale is good. 100% tax control, which is what I would sell, of the people's choices with their tax dollar on the two biggest files, healthcare and education. Allow them to make choices. Simple as that. If we allow people to take in their local LINs, which are kind of disappearing, but they're not, they're just going to be renamed something else. If we allow everybody in my LINs, in the Eastern Ontario LINs, to have 100% of their funding for their healthcare, and I know 99% of the people would send it to the Eastern Ontario LINs. Right now, they only get half of what they asked for, and there's 5 layers above the LINs network, the 14 LINs across the province, that actually take away from the funding, which is the midline bureaucracy, where they just siphon off money that doesn't go to the LINs. So to go to a voucher system where you control 100% of your tax dollars for your health care, approximately $12,800 for each individual person in Ontario, that means overnight in every LINs you get 50% more funding because they get about 49% of their funding that they asked for. So no sliding tax scale. First and foremost, right off the bat, I'm done.
Okay. Okay, Keith, your thoughts?
I keep forgetting to look at you, Brad. Have I been over my time yet? I don't even
Nope,
know.
not yet. Don't worry. I'll cut you off if you get really bad.
Definitely not a sliding scale for taxation. If we do anything, we should have a flat tax. We should eliminate all of the bureaucracy. We should eliminate all the loopholes, flatten it right out. It starts with zero line iteming the budget, though, and making sure that everybody who has a budget that in our government is accountable for their money. They should put that across the Premier's desk, and he should either okay or disapprove of that right off the start. I'm for a voucher system in education, and I'm all for that. But I don't know about the healthcare system, and I don't know how that would work. It's an interesting thought. How much do you think that would cost our province as a provider? Mark, that would be my question.
Are you asking me that direct, or I'll ping in? So that the healthcare budget is $56 billion. If you divide it by the 14 million people that are in the province, it works out approximately $12,800 per person. Each person only gets 49% of that in frontline service delivery. So in that sense there, if you were to take 100% of their funding, the budget is not going to change. Well, what you're going to do is take all that money and transfer it over to each one of the LINs. 50% overnight funding, that means more MRIs, more doctors, nurses, healthcare workers, more machineries, more clinics, and you haven't changed the budget. I wouldn't change the actual budget of $56 billion, but what I would do is double the service delivery and keeping that. That would be for the first while. And then from there, you take those simple numbers and you eliminate that bureaucracy, and people go, oh my God, we're going to lose all those great jobs. No, those great jobs are going to be turned into local jobs in each one of the LINs. Doctors, nurses, healthcare aides, PSWs, opening up wings where they can actually afford to do surgery, where they're sitting blank and closed right now because they don't have the money. So that's a really good service delivery model where the people control their healthcare destiny in their local area.
And one more question to that is, if I'm a person out there and I do not want to donate to that LINs, I don't have to give that money to them. I can give that to anybody I want. I can go get Blue Cross or whatever type of insurance and pay that type of provider. Is that what we're saying? So
absolutely free the market.
I would imagine that then those LHINs aren't going to get 100% of that budget. They're probably only going to get 50 or 60, if that.
They're going to get zero of it, because if you decide to choose private healthcare delivery, then 100% of your funding goes towards that in each and every member of your family. And I think that's a very sellable product.
It's a thought. I'm not too sure, but that's why we have these debates and we have these conversations, right?
All right, are you guys both okay? Any other thoughts?
I'm good.
Okay, then our next question for Keith is, what would be your plan specifically to get the party more media attention and help raise it from its current obscurity?
It literally starts by knocking on those doors and going out and putting boots on the ground. I know in Bradford, I'm getting to know the local people. I'm out meeting a lot of folks in the York Simcoe riding. I'm getting good press. The media loves me, and I'll tell you, I haven't had a bad piece of news since I've been there. And I really believe that the media they want to have that conversation, but it's going to be locally. You're not going to get CBC to report on you, but you're going to get the Bradford Today to report on you. You're going to get the local paper in Lindsay or the local paper in Sudbury will report on you. And that's how this has to happen. We can't expect the big news to report on us, because it's their job to not. They don't want competition. So we get that media locally, and we'll grow it from there. But again, it starts with that leader getting out there and attracting local candidates and local members all across this province. That's how you're going to get that media.
Okay, thank you very much. Mark?
Right back at is the media. The media is the key word. When I first found the party back in 2014 or 15, I think it was, I got a Facebook post, and I was really searching. I'd given up on conservatism. I'd given up on I was only a conservative, and it was a Facebook post from the Ontario Libertarian Party that caught my attention. That group, those posts actually were shared more and more and more time, which actually grew the presence. It did provide a slight bump in funding for that period of the election period, for the 2 years running up to it. But those posts that were coming out were being shared 50,000, 60,000 times. I was part of the executive. I was getting the daily updates of each post and seeing how it was doing. So that social media presence really did well. And exactly like he said, it is the local area where you're going to have the most support, the most knowledge, and the most visibility. It's the party's job to maintain the provincial level debate and keep it going, both on Twitter, on Snapchat, on Instagram, and on Facebook. And email is becoming dead. It's part of our system. It really needs to still survive. But really, if we're going to reach the youth, and we're going to talk about pot, we didn't even have a single pot premise in our platform whatsoever. No, we're going to whatever the federal government is. Yeah, they're all US you guys. Go ahead, let's do what you want to do. Go ahead, run your business, pay your federal taxes, but we're not going to regulate you anymore.
Awesome.
That's the kind of ideas, that's the kind of thinking, that's the kind of message that we have to put out there. Oh my God, the Ontario Libertarian Party is going to remove the, what's it called, the Ontario OMJ or whatever it's called, whatever the Ontario medical marijuana place. Well, get rid of that, make it a free market.
Okay.
We definitely need that to our platform, is decriminalizing it and getting out of the way and pushing back against the Cannabis Act. But it was missed in our last platform. But we've plateaued on social media. I'll be honest with you, Mark. We look at those stats every day, and we've hit our roof for the province. So we're not going to attract any new faces on social media. We can keep the ones we've got by continuing to post, and I definitely suggest we use it as much as we can. But those numbers haven't grown in months, and I don't see them growing anymore. We need to find another way to advance the party.
Okay. Any final thoughts on that, Mark?
Nope.
Okay. Then our next question is for Mark. Last election, the party wasn't able to secure ridings in Northern Ontario. Why do you think that was, and what would you do to change that?
Well, first off, the two new ridings that they had were almost next possible to get to, and we had a person on the ground that was going to help us out. All the rest of the Northern Ontario ridings that were done by two people on a road trip. They went around, they got all the signatures, they did all that stuff. Again, not not having the message out there, not having the commonality of the word libertarian throughout the province made it really, really difficult. And it came down to a bunch of ridings for a couple of people to get in their cars and go run all over the province to get the signatures necessary for a paper candidate. And most of them were paper candidates. And we did achieve 117 of 124. However, unless we can grow that party and grow that message and meet those, get those ideas implanted in those communities, it's going to be the same thing in 2022. We'll try to change it, but I suspect we're going to have ridings where we have to send people into.
Okay, thank you. Keith?
I'm going to hop in my car and drive to those ridings. I'll sleep in my car if I have to. We'll find members there. That's our job as a leader. We need to get out there. We need to attract those people. They're there. If there was 20 votes in a riding for a paper candidate, there's 20 people who would be a part of that party right there. And we need to get to them. We need to find a way to get to them. And it's going to suck. Whoever the leader is going to spend some long trips and some long days. But what is your freedom worth? What is this message worth to us? I'm willing to put in the groundwork. I'll make time, and I'll be there, and I'll go to every single riding, and we will have that set up. We will find those people there. They're there. We just have to find them, and I'm willing to put in that work.
Perfect. Thank you. Any final thoughts on that, Mark?
No, I still believe in the social media outreach to reach into those places, maybe identify, like he said, those 1 or 2 votes that we had or 20 votes that we had. Maybe set up something, go up there in a swing in a bigger part of town to say hit a Sudbury and make everybody make noise in Sudbury, and then grow that message from there and let people understand libertarianism and grow it out. I don't think it's a wasted effort, but I think more effort should be put into more winnable ridings with presence in more populous ridings. I don't think we're going to achieve every single riding and every single candidate. It's a goal. I'd love to do it. I want to do it. I'm just saying, in the election year, we need to focus on where we can actually spend the money, work the services, and be out there to meet the people. Doesn't mean that it can't happen all this time. I'm just saying that it seems like a very, very lofty riding with 124 ridings and 36 months to the election. Well, that means you have to do 2 ridings a month from now to then. Ain't gonna happen. So I wouldn't want to waste my effort if I was elected leader to do that. However, I would make a presence of going to some of the larger ridings and trying to set up something to do that.
Okay, thank you. Then, Keith, a final thought on this.
I'll do it. Whatever it takes, I'll do it. I'll be there.
Yeah.
I'll shake every hand in town if I have to. I'll sleep in my car. It doesn't matter. The message needs to get out, and I'll dig in and I'll get it out.
Okay, terrific. Thank you. So, our next one for Keith. Last election, the party secured almost twice as many ridings as ever before. Yet, we had a smaller share of the popular vote. Why do you think that is, and what should we do to change it?
Well, I believe that we could have done a postmortem as a party, but we didn't. So this is just my thought. I think we tried too hard and worried too much about getting a full slate. We didn't worry as much about hitting the candidates where we had, having good quality candidates, putting out a solid message. There was problems. There was candidates that were iffy, and I think that watered down our message, and that's why we lost traction. I also believe that the platform wasn't complete and it wasn't full enough, and I think that we could have done better. And I think that's 2 things that we need to take from the 2018 election: is we need a platform that resonates more, and we need to make sure that our candidates in each riding are solid. And if we don't have them, I'm not so sure that paper candidates worked so well for you guys last time. So let's get our boots on the ground. Let's, as I keep saying, let's get those EDAs set up. Let's get those local people finding all that stuff. And it starts with the spark from the leader. Let's go out there and find those people, and then start it now and grow them, so that when the election time comes, we have local people set up doing local work, espousing local issues, and then our message will grow. That'll change everything.
Okay, thank you. Mark?
Actually, we didn't lose that election. We did exceptionally well to do what we did. one of the problems that we experienced in that election was the I hate win, I love Ford. Join the Ford team. It had nothing to do with the Libertarian Party's policy. It was about the media selling papers to push the Ford or the win thing. And our platform was a very good platform. I believe in that platform. I'll run again on that platform. Matter of fact, I'm going to say, as a leader, I'm going to run on that platform with a little better explanation. Provided the caucus gives me permission to do so. Don't get me wrong, I'm not going to be a dictator in that sense. But we didn't lose the election because of our platform. We didn't get any traction in that election because the focus of the conversation and every media outlet was Ford win, Ford win, Ford win, Ford win. So we were noise in the background. We couldn't even, if we released a press release that one of our candidates were, robbed the bank, it wouldn't get anywhere because nobody cared. And I don't mean that they didn't care about the platform, what we didn't get in the media. They told us if we got 124 candidates, we'll get you on there. Well, Steve Paikin brought on Alan Small onto the his show on TVO Ontario, and it did well. It did great, but nobody was talking about any other party but the Ford win and then the Horwith. So the Greens, Mike Schreiner had $630,000 that he got a seat with. He bought with taxpayers' money. The simple fact is that that's the reason why we didn't get any traction. It has nothing to do with the slate of candidates. It has nothing to do with the leader or anybody else that we had. We were just not a news story. We need to develop that news story. We need to put that message out there and develop and get all those great people. Get all those people that were 56,000 people that used to be on our Facebook page. That's what we need to reinvest in.
Okay, thank you, Mark. Keith.
And you see, the platform is uninspiring. Paper candidates don't inspire people to vote for them. We lost traction, and we can say that it was when we can always point the finger in other directions. But accountability and responsibility is a big part of libertarianism, and we need to own what happened, and we need to be responsible for it, and we need to improve on it and do better. And I think we can. I think we have the tools to do it, and we have the people to do it. So let's inspire Ontario. Let's give them something different, something bold, and push that, and see what that does. Because doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result is insanity, and we can do better than that.
Okay, thank you. Any other thoughts, Mark?
Yeah, I disagree completely, and I'm going to strongly disagree with your analogy of that. It had nothing to do with the platform, the list of candidates. It had everything to do with not getting any traction in the media. And Keith, that's the only thing I've disagreed with you all night. I don't think that's a fair assessment. Our platform was good, and we just didn't get the media attention that we should have got for the amazing result of putting 117 candidates of 124 candidates. That's a huge political win. Not a peep. We were shut out from the media because we weren't the focus. And we tried, trust me. We spent $30,000 in radio, or $14,000 in radio ads. We bought $30,000 worth of signs and sent them across to every candidate that wanted them. Alan Small drove them all over the province to do so. So it's not like we didn't try. With the minimal budget that we had, we maximized the ability of that to produce results. But the media never picked us up. If you don't get on the news, you're not going to get heard. Your message is not going to get heard.
We've never gotten the news, and we've never had the media, and we still did twice as high numbers in the election before. So there had to be something else. And I'm not trying to blame game. I just know when I do something and I don't succeed, I look internally and I find out what I can do to improve it. I don't look outward and try to find an excuse for it. I know it's something that I can improve on. So that's where I'm at with this. And I was a third party at that point. I was out in BC watching you guys and I was cheering you on. So when I saw that go down, it was disappointing for me. And then, what else could it be? If it's, you have to accept some of it somewhere. And that's all I'm going to say on that. I do think we have a strong party, and I think we can do much better. And I was very proud of what you did. So don't take this in the wrong way. I think getting 117 seats was a huge win for the party, but it didn't come out in votes. So we need to figure out why, and we need to improve on that.
Okay, anything else, Mark?
No, I just I stick firmly to that. We got no traction. Like I said, we paid for radio advertising across the province. And people weren't wanting to hear about it. They were either on one side of the fence or the other. And that's unfortunate. We need to do better. And we will. We need the money to do it, but we need to do better.
Okay, thank you. Then, Mark. So, our next question is for Mark. What tax policy would you implement for businesses or individuals? Where would you place a basic tax exemption if applicable?
I can't even say that I would go with that basic tax exemption. What we need to do, like I said earlier, was reduce the red tape and regulations, remove the carbon taxation, and take us out of the regulated environment that is actually holding back businesses in Ontario. We need to look at that and move quickly to make Ontario a very, very good place to set up business in. Corporate tax rates, remove the taxation on the carbon tax, remove just the regulations that makes it almost impossible to open a business in Ontario and be profitable without the government coming and taking half of it or regulating you to the point where it's cheaper to open up a business in the U.S. or cheaper to open up a business overseas. That's what we need to get through to make Ontario one of the best places to invest and have a business in. We already have cheap energy right now. Get rid of the wind and solar, ramp up the nuclear, ramp up the gas turbines. Let's make Ontario build things again. The only way you're going to do that, reduce the regulations, get rid of the red tape that hinders businesses from actually growing and employing people.
Okay, thank you. Keith, your thoughts?
As a personal tax exemption, I would set that at $30,000. I think a 10% flat tax would be sufficient to fund whatever projects we decided to fund. And as a business, I would put it at 5% and no exemption. You pay your 5% as a business and do your share. But a flat tax is the way to go there. And I do agree, no carbon tax, cut the regulations, get all that stuff out of the way, and allow us to do some business.
Okay, thank you. Any final thoughts on that, Mark?
No, I'll stick with get rid of the red tape and regulations, remove any taxation in the form of carbon tax, and control the energy prices, Get the government out of that.
Okay, moving on then. Keith, what current government agencies do you think should be privatized or not privatized, and why? How would you go about the process of privatizing these services?
I think the big one that we always talk about as libertarians is our education system. The one-size-fits-all public education system is a bloated bureaucracy that gets absolutely nothing done for our children. And I would love to do that through a voucher system. I think if you allow the teachers to set the curriculum and you allow the parents to choose which curriculum they wanted their children to go to through their voucher, it would totally totally revolutionize education. That's what I was going to say. It's the big one for me. Education is so important, and our children need to have a better go at our education system. And I think the voucher system is the way to go. And by privatizing the front end of that and getting the government out of picking curriculum, you would watch that flourish.
Okay, thank you. Any other thoughts on that, Mark? Your thoughts on that, Mark?
Question out again then?
Okay, so the question was, what current government agencies do you think should be privatized or not privatized, and why? And how would you go about the process of privatization?
Okay, like I said in my original response, I don't like the word privatization. I empower people with their own tax choices, for their own tax dollars, to make choices whether they want to stay with the current system, OHIP, public education system, and let them make choices. But those are my two big puppies, like Keith. We don't like the education and the healthcare system, and people deserve choice. So privatization is not a word that I would say. Giving people power and choice with their own tax dollars is the way that I would sell that. Second to that is conservation authorities and the whole idea behind land privileges that we have that we no longer have anymore. Remove any regulations on the Conservation Act, Municipal Authority Act, and put all those regulations. Get the government at the provincial level out of that. The government only needs to manage what's Crown land. And all of the wealth and transfer of all those services will go back down to the cities and stop taxing them for it. Because one of the problems that we have in this province is that the provincial government taxes us for certain things, either on a gas tax for roads and all that. And what happens is they collect it all at the provincial level, and then they, if you have a good council, we're going to give you some money for your LRT project, or for your bus system, or for your roads and highways. Those are things that should be maintained by the cities and municipalities. So if we take that taxation off the provincial level and we put it down to the local constituent level, well, now the people actually have a voice to do that. We need to work on regulations of deregulating the provincial government's authorities and put it back down into the municipal and city authorities, and remove that taxation from the provinces and let the cities put it on the people, and then they would become accountable at the municipal council and the city council to the actual taxpayer. Because right now they're not. They're taking it from one hand and giving it back to the municipalities through the other. And get rid of all those organizations. Not privatize them. Get rid of them.
Okay, thank you. Any final thoughts on that, Keith?
No, I totally agree with municipalities should have the power. I say it all the time. Community-based solutions. What's good for Sudbury isn't good for Ottawa. What's good for Ottawa isn't good for Toronto. The Conservation Authority is probably one of the most heinous organizations I've ever seen. They're striking deals in closed doors with developers on land that's environmentally protected now, and the value's down to a third of what it was. And they're selling it off to these builders at a discount because they're getting favors, and it's horrible to see these things happening. We have that happening up here in York Simcoe right now, and the city's actually fighting back. So it's good to see that. But yes, definitely put the power into municipalities' hands. It's the only way to do this. But privatize is kind of an ugly word. People don't want to hear it. They get scared with it. I agree with that.
Okay, thank you. Then our next question is for Mark. As leader, would you have the courage to take a firm and public stance on often unpopular topics like affirmative action, standing up for corporations, or the suggestion that the government can't own natural resources?
Well, owning natural resources isn't a provincial responsibility, but for the other two, those are business policies and practices. Should we have legislation for special interest groups? I'm not really sure. It's definitely worth the debate. But really, if you really want to be libertarian and you really want to live yourself, then you need to get government out of the way and stop regulating that to do so. Words and free speech are something, again, federally regulated. But we have too many special interest groups. We have too many, I don't know how to put it, special interest groups would be the only way that I could say it, that get the government's ear. And the only reason why government listens to special interest groups is because they're voting blocks. So it's a tough call. I'm not going to interfere in a business's private affairs. I would not want to interfere in a business's private affairs, providing they're not damaging the environment. Then as the weight of the government should go after them. Provided they're not harming their employees, then the weight of the government or the right to be able to sue, that should go after them. People should have that right to do so. Special interest groups and others, I'm not sure how to take that or where to run with it, but definitely I don't think the government should be involved in it. I think that there should be some protections on a basic level, but not at the regulatory and red tape level that it is right now. It makes everybody paralyzed and afraid, unless you're brave and strong and speak out and have your own opinion. If I said I was proud, I want to have a white pride day, well, I'd be vilified in the press, because that's just not but it's okay for anybody else of any other group to say that. But if you're going to try to do free speech, for instance, just some of the movements that are out there trying to exercise free speech, Jordan Peterson, Lindsay Shepherd, free speech is very, very important. But if you try to say free speech, people attack you for it. And the only way that they can attack you for it is if the government supports it. And I don't believe the government should be supporting on a level like that.
All right, thank you, Mark. Keith, your thoughts?
Read me that question again, please, Brad.
Absolutely. It's, as leader, would you have the courage to take a firm and public stance on issues like affirmative action, standing up for corporations, or the suggestion that the government can't own natural resources?
That's what the leader does. The leader has to stand up. He has to have enough moxie to be able to stand up for those tough issues that are libertarian. I'm not saying all three of those issues are in our platform or something we espouse. I don't believe that the government should own natural resources. But again, the conversation is, do I have the courage to stand up? That and I have no fear to tackle all of the tough questions.
All right. Thank you very much. Any final thoughts on that, Mark?
No, I'm good with that.
Okay. This is going to be our final question before you guys' closing summaries. Let's start with Keith. What is your opinion on democratic reform? How could our electoral system be changed in such a way that more Canadians' opinions are represented in Parliament?
Well, I believe if the government got out of funding the big parties, the message wouldn't be so watered down into these pigeonholes. When the government pays political parties for votes, what happens is they take that money and they use it against the message, and that goes back around in circles. So get that out of there. That's the first and most important thing for electoral reform. If everybody had a fair shake and a fair voice without government interference, their message would be out. As for democratic reform, I haven't seen one yet that works better than first past the post. I'm open to it, but everything else I've seen is just growing the bureaucracy, and I don't believe in growing the bureaucracy. We don't need 500 seats in Ontario to represent us because we have all of these extra seats that we're handing out for these other options. So I'm open to it, but I don't see anything other than first past the post working. And I think people would have that voice if we got government out of the game of funding parties.
All right, thank you. Mark, your thoughts?
Well, I'll start with Fair Vote Canada. That's a very, very good organization that would actually have some kind of a model of democratic reform. They offer several types of views into it. As for first past the post, I believe that, but it really is not the issue of the type of voting that we are allowed to do. It's the empathy of the voter today. If we can't sell them a message, half the people turn off. And that's what we need to do, is to be able to sell a message. When less than 47% of the province showed up to vote last election out of 7.5 million voters, that's the problem. Voter empathy. And in order to get voter empathy back on track, we need to have the ability to have a great platform, one that empowers the people, one that takes away power from the government so that they can't lobby each other and be the blue and red team in power all the time. Well, they can only do that if they control the power. Libertarian principles under the Ontario Libertarian Party and using the 2018 platform is where I want to grow that message to say that you, the people, can have more power than the government. Because if we give the power to the people in the sense of more fair share of their tax dollar and where they're going to spend it, what's going to happen is the politician, anybody else will become less important. It'll become about people's choice. That's how you engage people. I'm not sure if we can achieve that, but I will try to achieve it. I'm not going to sit here and say false promises, but I'm telling you this. That's where we need to do. We need to engage the electorate. We need to grow this party. And it's quite simply, you're not going to get democratic reform because the current power brokers are not going to give it to you. But what we need to do is get voter empathy back on track where they actually have something to believe in, because nobody believes in politics anymore.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much. Keith, do you have a summary for this question?
I'm good. Thank you.
Okay, so that is all the questions we have for tonight. Since that last question was for Keith, I'll now give Mark a few minutes to give some closing statements, closing thoughts.
I'll be looking for the card, because I got a lot to say. Evening, my name is Mark Snow, and as you are aware, I am running for the leader of the Ontario Libertarian Party. I believe in the 2018 platform. I believe that the 2018 platform is something that is can be exceptionally well sold in granting people power over the government, both in their tax dollars, both more property rights, both in their education ability to set up systems for their children, in our healthcare system that will deliver your tax dollars to you to make choices of your own, and property rights on a wealth of 2018 platforms that are very, very good, that could use better delineated and places so that people will see that and not wonder what that means. It needs to be hard and fixed to the best point where it can't be just pigeonholed in it. I want to work with the caucus to improve that platform to make it more palatable in the sense of its wording, not in the actual message or each one of the statements in it, but to make it more clear, more linear, more ability to sell, more punchy. And I want to try to do that if I'm elected as leader with the caucus, if they're willing to go that way. I want to try to push that message. So that's the first thing. If I get elected leader, then it's the convention before that to get all the new constitution and bylaws in place. Then for the next 6 months, it's growing that caucus and settling on the platform and pushing that platform out, and then moving towards the EDAs and really developing the second year before the election. The whole plan to start reaching out and developing more of a presence in Ontario. Then, like we did in the 2018 election, in 12 months out, start that whole candidate slate thing. But if we don't grow the message and we don't fix the platform in the areas that need to be more clear, then we cannot possibly succeed without getting that message out afterwards. So go through the election process, the bylaw constitution, get the platform in place, start pushing that platform right off the bat, start social media it right out there, get out there speaking about it. Then after that, we'll work on that, developing the party funds for the election coming into 2022, and then in the last 12 months, go ahead and try to get that full slate, do our best to do it. If we get EDAs in before then and after that, that's fine. We'll do that too. But I really think it's important to grow that message. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Mark. Keith.
We can do better. We as a party have the ability now to either succeed or fail again. And it's a cycle with the Libertarian Party. We grow a little bit, we get to that precipice, and we can either succeed or fail, and we always reset. And we need to not reset this time. I think as the leader, what I can give you is energy, and I can give you spirit and heart. I think what we're lacking is somebody who can connect with the people and somebody who can get out to the communities and shake hands and win those hearts and minds one at a time locally. We need that. I think that is how we're going to succeed moving forward. We're going to set a great team together at this convention, and it's going to be up to you to pick that team. But I think this is our chance to really break through. If we can put together another full slate, if we can get those EDAs in place, get those candidates early, get a solid platform, and I don't believe 2018 platform is where we can go. There's good parts in it, but we need to improve on that. Because doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results is insanity. We had 117 candidates run, or 116 candidates, and we got less by half, less the vote. So we need to figure that out. And I really believe that a brand new platform, something that's catchy, something that will appeal to people, will win that over. And I think what I can do for this party is I can put that out. I can put in the work, because libertarians are long in the tooth and they're short in the shoe, and we need to be long in the shoe. We need to start getting out and doing the work. Talking the talk is fine, and we can all talk the talk. It's who can walk the walk. Who's going to put in that time? Who's going to go out there and do that? And that's my promise to this party, is that I will never rest. I will be tireless in our battle for liberty, and that's what I offer you.
Okay, thank you both very much. And I would like to thank everyone who tuned in to this historic first OLP leadership debate. If you're interested in learning more about what we believe or in joining the party, you can check us out at libertarian.on.ca or send us an email for more information at info@libertarian.on.ca. Thank you once again for tuning in.
Thank you, Brad.
Thanks, Brad.